Hello. As Mayor of the City of Brisbane, I'd like to thank you for attending tonight's scoping meeting for the proposed Recology modernization and expansion project. The City is conducting this meeting to initiate the environmental review process for the project. Following a brief introduction to the project and the environmental review process, you will be asked to provide input regarding the studies and analysis that you believe should be undertaken in the EIR that is being prepared for the Recology modernization and expansion project. I'd like to introduce Lloyd Zola, the city's environmental consultant, who will be conducting the scoping meeting. And thank you all for coming.
And that, of course, was for the mayor, not for me. My name is Lloyd Zola. I'm with Metis Environmental Group, and what we're going to be, go to the next one? And what we're going to be talking tonight is the Recology Modernization and Expansion Project, and this is what is called under the law a scoping meeting. And that is specifically defined, and there's going to be a number of acronyms. I'll try and minimize those, but planners love them. California Environmental Quality Act is the law that we're dealing with tonight. That is called CEQA. And what the scoping meeting is, under CEQA, it's an opportunity for the public to provide comments about the types of analyses and the extent of analyses of environmental impact to be undertaken as part of an environmental impact report that the city is having prepared, an EIR. Now, this is the very beginning of the process. There's a lot more to happen. So other opportunities to talk about the environmental impacts of what Recology is proposing will include a public comment period on the draft environmental impact report. And I'll talk a little bit about what the process is in a minute and what that environmental impact report is. The opportunities to talk about the project. So what we're talking about tonight are environmental impacts, and to talk about the project. Do you like what Recology is proposing? Do you not like it? What should the city do with that proposal? Will come after the environmental process is done at public hearings, first before the Brisbane Planning Commission and then before the Brisbane City Council. So we can go to the next one. So Recology San Francisco has proposed modernizing their existing facility at Tunnel Avenue. And they're proposing that to achieve a zero waste program. Zero waste meaning no trash going to landfills. And they're proposing that for their service area in San Francisco, as well as their service area in Brisbane, which covers a good chunk of the Baylands. So the idea is no waste generated in San Francisco, no waste generated in the Baylands going to a landfill. And along with that would be modernizing their existing facility, expanding their facility, as well as taking existing facilities that Recology operates at Pier 96, moving them into the Tunnel Avenue facility in Brisbane and San Francisco, right on the border between the two cities, as well as consolidating their existing facilities at 7th Street onto the Tunnel Avenue site, and then closing their 7th Street facilities. Now, this request requires the City of Brisbane to take what is called a discretionary action. In other words, the City of Brisbane has the discretion to approve what Recology is proposing, to not approve it, to modify it. And because the City of Brisbane has that discretion, they are required under the California Environmental Quality Act to review the environmental impacts, the environmental effects of that proposal before the city can take any action. So we can go to the next one. And this shows where the facilities are. So you see the red line right there, boundary between Brisbane and San Francisco. And the facility is right at the boundary, the Tunnel Avenue facility, Pier 96, owned by the Port of San Francisco, and the 7th Street facility. And there were copies of a notice of preparation in the front, and this will also show the location of these facilities. So we can go to the next one. Great. Now, the first thing the city was required to do after this request was made was to determine, under the California Environmental Quality Act, is there a potential for a significant impact on the environment? And the city determined, Brisbane determined, that yes, there is the possibility that one or more significant impacts will occur. And as allowed under the law, rather than trying to sort through all the different potential environmental impacts that could occur and identify what needs to be studied and what does not need to be studied, the city of Brisbane said, we're not going to do what's called an initial study. We will address all the issues that are laid out in the Environmental Quality Act, and in this environmental impact report we're going to prepare, we will study all of those issues. So all of the issues, and we'll talk a little bit about what those are. So the city is going to prepare an environmental impact report to address the proposal from Recology. And what that EIR will address is, one, what are the physical changes to the environment that will occur if the Recology proposal is approved? What changes in the physical environment? What can be done to reduce, to mitigate any significant impacts that might occur? As well as what alternatives, what other kinds of projects, what other kinds of things could Recology be doing to reduce any significant impacts that might result? And so we go to the next one. And what the city did as a result of looking and saying we need to prepare an environmental impact report is issue what's called a notice of preparation. And that is the 10-page document that was at the front of the room as you came in that says notice of preparation. And that was issued on April 14th. And what that is a notice that an environmental impact report is being prepared. It is also a request for input from public agencies and the public as to what do you believe should be addressed in this environmental impact report. What environmental studies should be prepared, and that is what we'll be talking about tonight. Now, under the law, the California Environmental Quality Act requires a 30-day review period for this notice of preparation. And so public agencies are required to submit their comments on the notice of preparation, what studies should be prepared by May 13th. And so the city is requesting also that the public provide any written comments by May 13th, and in addition to any verbal comments you make tonight. So there is, in the back of the room, as you came in, there was a comment form to provide written comments. You can write to the city, you can email to the city, and there is information on that notice of preparation, who at the city it should go to, and it goes to John Swickey, who's sitting right over here. So comments in written form by May 13th. So now we'll talk about the process. I've said several times that an environmental impact report is being prepared. And what you will see first is a draft environmental impact report. There will be then, when that document is prepared, and it will have a public review period, so a period of time that the public can comment on the document. So tonight we'll talk about what studies should be in that document. Then there will be a public review period that you will see the results of those studies, the results of the environmental analyses, and you will have an opportunity to comment on those studies. The city is then obligated to take all of the comments received on that draft EIR that are received in writing and prepare written responses to every comment received. And the draft EIR, along with your comments on the draft EIR and all of the city's written responses to those comments, become a final EIR. And it's only after the final EIR is prepared that the city is allowed to consider what should we do with the project itself. What should we do with Recology's proposal? Do we approve it? Do we modify it? Do we not approve it? So first we go through the environmental process, then there will be a planning commission hearing where the planning commission will review the final environmental impact report, listen to your testimony regarding should the project be approved, not approved, and only then will the planning commission be permitted to make a recommendation. And they will make a recommendation to the city council. Should they approve, should they not approve, or should they modify? Then the planning or the city council will then review the planning commission's recommendation, the final EIR, and the city council then will be asked to take an action to approve, to modify, or not approve Recology's project. That's the process. And now let's talk a little bit about what is it that Recology is proposing. The project is being proposed in two phases. Phase 1 involves the existing land owned by Recology. So everything that would be done in Phase 1 is on land that Recology currently controls. What they are proposing in Phase 1 of development is a new operations building for processing of mixed solid waste and paper and container recycling, a new anaerobic digestion, gas storage, and gas cleaning facilities for waste that arrive in what's called black can, the typical trash that businesses would have, the typical trash you would have at your home. They are not proposing green waste. A new maintenance and support building for collection truck maintenance, garbage trucks, to maintain the garbage trucks, offices, related functions, reuse of the existing mixed solid waste transfer station that exists at this facility. So there is an existing transfer facility here for a new use as organics that are coming in via the green waste that's showing up in the black cans. Replacing utilities infrastructure, so upgrading the existing infrastructure, and new parking areas for those facilities for fleet vehicles. Now, Phase 2 involves expansion of that facility. And Phase 2 would only occur, it's predicated upon Recology's ability to acquire land beyond its existing ownership. In Phase 2, what you would see is a new visitor center and an auditorium, a new parking structure for automobiles, expanded boundaries, and new administrative offices, so spreading out some of that facility. So that is Phase 2. What this requires to this project is it requires the City of Brisbane to look at an amendment of its existing general plan to essentially move the boundaries of the Beatty sub-area to correspond to the proposed expansion area, rezoning text amendments regarding uses of that area, as well as what's called under the law a specific plan, a planning document that would describe the entirety of what's proposed in Phase 1 and Phase 2. What is Recology planning to do over this entire area? The City and County of San Francisco will be asked to review in the San Francisco portion of the site, north of the boundary, in the City of San Francisco, site development permits, because the existing facility is in both San Francisco and Brisbane. So Brisbane can only approve the portions of the project that are in Brisbane. San Francisco must look at and approve the portions that are in San Francisco. But under the law, a single environmental impact report will be prepared for the entirety of the site, both San Francisco and Brisbane is the lead agency for the entirety of the environmental review. San Francisco will also be asked to approve a solid waste permit, facility permit modification to the existing permit that Recology operates. So right now, Recology is operating their facility. It has a permit that's called a solid waste permit that San Francisco approves, San Francisco Health Department, for both San Francisco and the portion that's in Brisbane. The Regional Water Quality Control Board, as well as the San Mateo County Health System, will be asked to approve a Title 27 landfill closure for the portion of this facility that overlies the existing, or the former, I guess would be a better way of saying it, the former Brisbane landfill. So a portion of the site overlies the former landfill. The regional board and the county health department in San Mateo County are being asked, or will be asked, to provide a permit for closure of the landfill. Those are the permits that are requested. The things that we will be studying in the environmental impact report. So next one. As I said earlier, the city of Brisbane said we're not going to try and decide what's significant, what's not. We'll be studying all of these issues. Aesthetics. What will be the changes in views from existing housing, existing businesses, and how will this facility affect scenic vistas and community character? Agriculture and forestry is a subject under CEQA. That one's easy to deal with, but we will look at that as part of this document. We will look at air quality. What are the effects that modernizing and expanding the facility will have on air quality? What are the effects that modernizing and expanding the existing facility will have on biological resources, on cultural resources, meaning historical, archaeological, and I always have trouble with this word, paleontological, I'm getting good at that, but essentially prehistoric artifacts. What will be the effects of the program, of the project that Recology is proposing on energy resources? What will be the effects on geology, soils, seismicity, earthquakes, and so on? What will be the effects of modernizing and expanding the facility on emissions of greenhouse gases addressing global climate change? What will be the effects of this project related to hazards and hazardous materials? What will be the effects of modernization and expansion of the existing facility on hydrology, drainage, and water quality? Land use and planning, looking at Recology's proposal in terms of its consistency with City of Brisbane planning requirements, consistency with San Francisco planning requirements. Looking at mineral resources and how does this project affect any mineral resources that might be present. Effects of expansion on noise, both during construction and operation of the facility. Looking at how does this affect population growth and housing growth. Are there any effects of this facility? What are the effects of modernization and expansion on public facilities? Police, fire, recreation. What are the effects on specifically recreation? What are the effects of this project on traffic? And how will modernizing and expanding the facility affect traffic both during phase 1 and during phase 2? Looking again at construction impacts as well as ongoing operations, and then looking at utilities, water, sewer, drainage, and then required also to be looked at are alternatives to the project, so that if there are any significant impacts identified, how can they be mitigated? What kinds of changes could be made to the project to reduce any significant impacts? And those are the things that will be studied in the document. And so tonight what we'll be talking about is what kinds of studies do you as the community believe ought to be studied as part of the environmental impact report that's being prepared. And then following this meeting, you will have these opportunities to give comments. First of all, any handwritten comments, any written comments, emailed comments to the city should be received by May 13th. As I talked about, a public review period when the document is available. Planning Commission hearings that will address both the environmental impact report and the project itself, and finally city council hearings. So for tonight, let's go back. I guess, yeah, we can go back one more. We'll leave that one up as people are talking. So for tonight, there were speaker cards as you walked in the room, and I will be calling the people who gave speaker cards to come up, give your comments. If you speak from there, you will be recorded. We have a court reporter right over here, so all of the comments and all of everything I have said, everything you say tonight will be available as a full transcript. And so I will call the speakers one by one. If you haven't already turned one in, just bring them up to the front over here. We'll call them. 3 minutes, Sean? And so we'll give everybody 3 minutes to speak, and then we'll go through all of the speakers, and then we'll look where we are on time going up to our 10 o'clock deadline. So I have a set of speaker cards, and I will call them one by one. First one, and cleverly they are numbered here. So that way we can keep track of these. Speaker number one, and these are just in order of how they got here. So speaker number one, Tony Varios. So if you'd like to come up, speak from here. And then next will be Yul Ling.
My name's Tony Varios. I live at 122 Warbler here in Brisbane.
If you want to sit, you can.
It's okay. I sit all day. Thank you. Also have a business, Varios Insurance Agency, across the street from here, 200 Valley Drive, and a house in Little Hollywood, 269 Tunnel Avenue. My concern is that Recology is a critical company providing services that we can't do without in San Francisco or Brisbane, and they need 100% support so they can get absolutely everything that they need in order to improve their operations for the next 100 years going forward. There's a big lack of planning that I see in that sense in terms of long-range, high-quality planning. And it's very hard to do. So I think, though, that there's a difference between what they need and what they may want or what they may think they want. And the way the business has grown over the past 50 or 100 years hasn't been looking to the next 100 or 50 beyond that. It's not Recology's fault. They can't control the growth of San Francisco and Brisbane, and it's been tremendous, most recently with about 24,000 new homes being constructed almost at this moment, both in the Old Sledge Lock site as well as the Bayview Hunters Point. And part of the impacts that we're concerned with from the Little Hollywood perspective in Visitation Valley is the Brisbane bus rapid transit, the bus rapid transit connection that San Francisco Metropolitan Transportation Agency is working on. And I believe they've recently been in touch with Brisbane about that. So my concern is that doing the changes that Recology has initially suggested, I have no question that their goals are proper and what their motivations are good. But I think that we would all be better served, everybody, Brisbane, San Francisco, and Recology, if we could work out a much more far-reaching vision of moving Recology's whole company south of the lumberyard, building the world's best recycling plant there from scratch so that there's nothing that anybody can do except gape at it and try to copy it in the future. That would be great for San Francisco. It would solve all their problems. It would be great for Brisbane. Brisbane would collect more revenue. It would be great for Little Hollywood and Visitation Valley because we wouldn't have to put up with the stink, the rats, the seagulls, and the noise. So that's basically the crux of my suggestion, is that we look at it from a holistic perspective with everybody's concerns taken into consideration. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I think I pronounced the name wrong. Yukling Liao? Thank you. Do you want to speak from right there?
Okay, I'm going to help her with the translation.
Okay.
I'll do it roughly. Okay. 你首先話我哋嘅人口係點樣先？你坐啊。坐啊，咁唔使對住啊嘛。你對住。Hello, my name is Yukling Lee。Okay. 咁咧，我咧住喺小荷里活咧已經30年。Miss Lee has been living in Little Hollywood for about 30 years. Yeah， 但咧經常咧，我哋咧都即係而家個垃圾房咧起到咧，都影響到我哋咧好臭。Okay, she's very concerned about the odor, in the community. Yeah， 間中咧，我哋咧屋企咧又有啲老鼠啊，即係可能啲食物問題咧，佢會惹到啲老鼠。She's concerned with pets like rats that's around around the house. Yeah， 咁咧，然後咧，我哋咧經常咧去即係嗰個 park 嗰度咧 ，Candlestick Park 嗰度咧去散步啊，去咩咁咧就。即係聞到咧嗰啲空氣飛嚟咧，真係好臭。So when they go around to the park, she mentioned Candlestick Park. The odor even permeates over in that area as well when she goes there for exercise. 所以咧，我希望咧政府咧即係唔好再加建嗰個垃圾房，最好咧就同我哋搬走個最好嘅。So she's opposed to the expansion, but she prefers that it be moved elsewhere. Maybe something like what Mr. Varios recommended earlier. 即係影響我哋嘅健康啦，即係嗰啲空氣又污染啦，即係好唔好唔好，即係因為我哋好多唐人咧都住喺嗰區，即係好多唐人啦，同埋全部啲即係嗰啲美國啦人啦，即係咩都有。所以我都好希望佢哋咧，即係唔好再加建啦，影響我哋啦。Okay, there's a large percentage of Asian, particularly Chinese, in the Little Hollywood area. So she proposes that it should not, the ecology should be elsewhere, should not be in a residential area. Okay, 我多謝你哋啊，係咁啊。
Thank you. Hey, Angela Siharath. And then next is Joyce. Okay.
我係 Angela Sihara。
Okay, this is Angela Sihara.
我係話寮國過嚟嘅。
Okay, she came from Thailand.
咁呢
I'm sorry, from Laos.
Laos.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
咁呢，我住喺小荷里活有33年。
She's been living in Little Hollywood for over 33 years.
我記得啱開始嚟住呢區嗰時呢，係佢非常美麗、非常幽靜嘅。
When she first moved to Little Hollywood, it was beautiful, it was quiet.
所以呢，我先搬入嚟住。
That's the reason why she moved there.
但係而家呢，我發覺呢，而家呢好多嗰啲雀呢，飛到成天都係。
Yeah, now the air is filled with seagulls everywhere, all over the sky.
同埋咧，我唔記得介紹下，我自己係做家庭托兒嘅。
She has a child care center that she takes care of kids.
咁你每日呢，我帶細蚊仔出邊去運動啊，去學嘢，去 outdoor 學嘢呢，就細蚊仔會踩到好多雀屎。
Okay, so every time she takes the kids out for an outing, she steps on a lot of the seagulls do, the poops everywhere.
同埋細蚊執嚟食添。
Some of them didn't know they were too young. They might even pick it up, thinking it's something edible. Is that disgusting?
我覺得呢好危險，因為呢嗰隻雀呢佢係冇打針噶嘛，所以呢細蚊仔食到嗰啲或者有啲細菌啦，會影響細蚊仔嘅健康。
She's afraid that the children's health will be affected because the birds, the poops are everywhere.
同埋呢，我發覺呢，而家呢就臭味係真係好難頂，個個都知道。
She knows that everybody who lives there, they can't stand the stench, this odor that's going on here.
雖然係話三藩市呢同埋 Brisbane 呢係兩個地方夾埋用嘅，但係我發覺呢對三藩市嘅居民呢就唔係幾公平。點解呢？因為 Brisbane 呢佢哋冇居民住響嗰啲垃圾場附近，係離開好遠嘅。
Yeah, she thinks it's really unfair for the expansion because the Recology is right in the residential area, whereas when it expands to Brisbane, people don't live around it, so it's unfair to us
San Francisco.
係咁咧，我哋三藩市啲居民咧有就2分鐘啊，1分鐘。Yeah，I know 咧。咁咧我知道咧，我希望咧，如果係真係嗰啲空氣問題咧，我記得我出去另外嘅州咧，我見到人哋嗰啲垃圾公司咧，佢有好大一條通嘅一個好大嗰啲通空氣咧，佢好高空先放咗啲空氣嘅，唔會話周圍臭㗎。
So she thinks that there should be some kind of tubing where the air is going someplace else but not permeated the whole community.
因為我喺另外州開會，我見到好好啦。
Okay, she thinks a better idea.
如果能夠咁做咧，我都唔會話好多問題啦。
Okay, if these problems are cleared up, I think she will be okay with it.
多謝。
Thank you.
Thank you. And we just have a first name, Joyce.
OK。
我叫 Joyce Lu，我住咗小荷里活區29年。
This is Joyce Lu. She's been a resident there for 29 years.
我初搬入嚟呢度咧，係好清新嘅啲空氣。
She also said that when she first moved to Little Hollywood, the air was clear.
但係咧，而家咧，因為我自己有 small business， 我一翻嚟咧，入咗屋咧，我就朝頭早出嚟咧，覺得啲空氣好差，同埋我有一邊窗，因為嗰邊啲屋係獨立嘅，我嗰邊窗係唔可以開嘅，因為好臭啲味，真係冇辦法。
She has a little business, but when she goes out in the morning, one side of the house she can't open the window because the odor is too much. Yeah.
同埋咧個門開咗入去 OK， 如果你耐少少咧，好多烏蠅飛入去咯。
So even her front door, if she leaves the door open ajar too long, then the flies come in.
係咁多。
Okay, 你反對啊？點樣？
我反對佢再擴建啊。
Okay,
因為啲 smell 真係唔可
Joyce
以
is
承
opposed
受。
to the expansion because, mainly from those problems.
因為喺住宅咧，真係嗰啲空氣係好重要嘅。
Yeah, because of course air quality is very important to everybody, especially in residential areas.
同埋咧，我揸車去 freeway 去another side 咧，好多嗰啲海鷗同埋嗰度啲味仲更加難聞。
So in another side, when she drives by, the seagulls are everywhere. The odor is even stronger around that area.
OK， 係咁多啦，多謝
Thank you.
晒。
Thank you. Okay, Rule Juan Tanzu, followed by Sandra Peppenhouse.
我咧，
大聲啲講你個名。
我嘅名咧係叫支瑞堅，
Her name is 支瑞娟。
係指 Peninsula 488號。
She lives at 480 Peninsula Avenue.
我近住嘅垃圾場咧，只係咧三匹樓嘅係垃圾場。
3間屋係嘛？
She
is just 3 houses from the garbage,
Yeah.
the Recology.
近住垃圾場嗰邊咧，我啲窗咧完全唔敢打
You
開。
can't open the windows. The side is facing the Recology.
而家一打開咧，佢個窗口嗰度咧條船啊黑晒嘅。
If she opens it, and that area, the frame becomes all dark.
非常咧好難聞嗰啲
And
味
the
道。
smell is overpowering.
門口上嗰啲樓係咧，你2日唔掃嘅咧就黑㗎啦。
Okay, even on the steps going up to a house, if you don't sweep it in a day or two, the steps are black. Soot. Right.
尤其是你2:00啊，黑晚2點半鐘咧，佢啲車咧開始好似褪車咁，激咁，我就嘈聲，我冇辦法瞓覺
Okay,
㗎。
around 2:30 in the morning, when these trucks are loading and doing all the work, she can't sleep. Starting around 2:30 in the morning.
所以咧，我希望
Sleep. Yeah.
個垃圾場咧能夠遷走咧，等我哋啲居民咧能夠個身體健康啲。
So she would like to see the Recology, instead of expanding
Yeah.
somewhere else, so that at least they can have healthy living.
就係咁咧，希望你哋支持我哋啲居民能夠搬到呢個垃圾場，個人嘅精神啲、健康啲。
So she would like
就係咁啦。
to support and to move the facility somewhere else so that they can improve their health.
Yeah， 希望你哋支持我哋咧。
Thank you for your support.
Yeah，thank you。
Sandra Pappenhaus, followed by Rita Lynn.
My name is Sandra Pappenhaus. I work for P&F Distributors that is currently located at 511 Tunnel Avenue. Our company started in 1969 at 501 Tunnel Avenue. We moved briefly into San Francisco onto Harrison Street for about a 2-year period. Then we moved back to 511 Tunnel, where we now happily operate. The Recology project is really going to affect our company because we are now surrounded totally by Recology. They bought Gross Company a number of years ago. They bought Van Arsdale. We're the only little tiny company like surrounded by them. So hearing some of the other neighbors, the residents, and their comments, I have to add some similar comments for us. It would seem that if the Recology could do their project further to the south, that would be better, and it would leave our company kind of intact also, because we've heard all sorts of different things about this project, that they're going to raise the road and put an overpass, and so the road would put us kind of like in a, we'd be down like in a little, the road would be above us in the front, and we'd be down below. We're on the corner of Tunnel and Beatty. So anyway, and the seagulls have been an ongoing problem for years and years. I mean, you know, our cars get bombarded. We go outside to deal with customers or whatever. On certain bad days, you feel like you had an umbrella or something to protect yourself from it. It seems like there could be some things that could work for everybody. There's a lot of land out there, and it seems like maybe the idea of putting it further to the south would be better. So anyway, like I said, we've operated happily, successfully in Brisbane since 1969, and we hope to continue doing so.
I think I pronounced Rita Liu.
Hi everybody, my name is Rita Liu. I live in Little Hollywood, 436 Peninsula Avenue. I've been there for 29 years now, and I want to stay there. It's a great little neighborhood, but honestly, the landfill behind our backyard, it's an eyesore. And I can't imagine it being expanded the way it is right now. I'm really glad there's going to be an environmental impact report just to see the effects on the environment, the surrounding area, and you'll see, like my neighbors have said, it's a huge problem. Smell, the odor, day and night. There's nothing we could do to protect against it. It's in the air. So the air quality is just really bad. There's a huge rat problem. There's a lot of rats running around in our neighborhood, and we can't stop that either. I mean, the only thing that we can prevent is close our doors, close our windows from them coming into our house. I'm not opposed to the entire project. I mean, I think it's really good that we're looking to alternatives. Waste management is a huge problem for our environment. It's just I wish it wasn't in our backyard. Like I hope our neighbors have said, we move it a little further down south. There's nothing out there. It's just land. There's a freeway. That's it. I mean, other than that, there's no residents, there's no houses. It won't affect anybody out there. We just hope that it's not in our area, not where we're, you know, raising our families, where there's schools, where there's daycare, businesses, a lot of people in that area, and just hope that we could, you know, work it out and think of a solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia Young. Yeah. Okay.
Hi, my name is Sylvia. I live in Little Hollywood for 24 years. For 24 years, first I complain. Okay, I didn't receive any notice about the letter until they told me. My neighbor also didn't receive anything.
位你 do the reverse。咁呢位係你哋嘅小學，你哋嘅鄰居，佢住咗24年，佢咧就係收唔到呢個通知，所以佢而家嚟呢度投訴。
Yeah. I just wonder, I live in the same area. I didn't receive anything. I know nothing. Is that unfair? Okay. And 我反對。
你反對係用咩原因？除非
Okay. Because before 24 years ago, when I moved in, a really good, quiet area, I'm so happy. But now sometimes the air not that good. A lot of flies. They get into my house, and mouse and mice, rat and mice. Sometimes they come from my backyard. I saw them run into my house. I said, I'm Daisy. And then I try to trace it. But I'm not a cat, so it get in my house. I don't want it to happen again.
OK， 呢位鄰居咧住咗24年，初頭嘅環境係好好嘅，但係而家咧就有老鼠，就有烏蠅嗰啲咁嘅嘢，咁所以佢都見佢喺嗰啲老鼠咧就喺佢嘅後花園嗰處走嚟走去，佢都想佢捉啦，不過唔夠膽喺度。
And mainly about that.
你想佢喺邊度？喺度呢個點樣？你講俾佢聽。
點講？
你想佢個垃圾槽點樣？你提議。
I wanted to move away. Because the fly too much. There's too much flies and mouse, and then it's killing me. 1 minute.
OK， 當然啦，嗰啲烏蠅啊、嗰啲老鼠啊、嗰啲嘢、嗰啲問題咧，就影響佢。咁佢希望呢個垃圾槽咧就搬去第二處地方。OK。
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure. Ben Chan? Close.
Hi, my name is Benny Chan. 我住喺Little Hollywood 有成30年都有啦。
This is Benny. He's been a resident in Little Hollywood for over 30 years.
以前環境啊，同埋一個好寧靜，同埋好乾淨，都冇。
Before it was very quiet and it was pretty pleasant to live there.
我覺得喺呢幾年裏邊嚟講咧，相當差，因為點解咧？個垃圾場相當嘈，啲塵又大。
Okay, so within the last few years, there's a lot of dust, there's a lot of noise from Recology facilities.
但係我好多時都係同埋啲街坊都係想話投訴，但係無門。
So they all, he and a lot of neighbors wanted to complain, but they didn't know how to do it. As you can see, if I may add, just Little Hollywood is about 60% Asian Pacific Islanders. Many of them are non-English speaking. In fact, he was my former student. I gave him that name.
加上咧，即係近來佢呢個垃圾場咧，佢越嚟越多車，日都3更半夜好嘈，搞到啲人瞓覺都有問題。
Okay, there are more and more of the garbage trucks, and the noise is too much, so it affects people's, sleeping.
仲有咧就係因為佢個垃圾場嗰啲垃圾咧好多雀喺度食，啲雀就越食越多，一年多過一年，一日多過一日。
The population of seagulls is increasing, and they are flying everywhere.
咁所以咧，佢食飽咗之後，佢四周圍飛到嗰啲電線桿嗰度，啲街到處都好多啲垃圾屎，對啲人嘅健康相當no good。
Okay, with all these seagulls flying around, of course, the problem is the poop, right? It's everywhere, so that's a big factor there too.
所以我好建議就呢個垃圾場能夠搬嚟我哋啲人口密集嘅地方。
So he proposes that the facility should be away from residential area.
使到大家希望個啲街坊個都可以健康啲。
係。To improve the quality of life and health.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Maureen Tran? Oh. You knew yours was going to come up.
Okay. Well, I'm going to summarize some of the problems that I heard. I live in Visitation Valley. I'm actually a retired teacher at City College for 37 years, teaching, as I said, happened that Benny was my former student at City College, and I taught immigrant children in the daytime. So I'm a community activist, and I do speak several languages, So we have a petition here, and I'm going to summarize it in the interest of time. So basically, we concerned residents of District 10 are opposed to Recology's expansion of its present facility because of the following reasons. For years, our residents have been subjected to the repulsive odors from the Recology site that adversely affect our health. The increasing pest problems are health hazards to our residents. The increasingly poor air quality affects the health of our residents. The serious health concerns can also adversely affect the values of our properties. When our volunteers went door to door to ask, and starting with Little Hollywood residents, a high percentage of them have not received this important notice. In fact, Daisy told me out of 120, fewer than 20 people received the notice for some reason. Given the demographics of District 10 residents, and particularly in Little Hollywood and Visitation Valley, we have a sizable Asian Pacific Islander and Spanish populations, and many are limited English speakers. Therefore, this English-only notice is not understood by our residents, therefore making it difficult for them to give appropriate feedbacks. Mr. Sawicki, Brisbane's Director of Community Development, only lists his fax number and email contacts. Therefore, it is hard for residents who have no computer access or those with little or no English abilities to contact him and make further inquiries. Besides this notice of preparation, please provide ongoing community meetings with translations available for both District 10 and Brisbane residents for Recology to properly explain the scope of the project and to solicit appropriate feedback from our residents. Starting with the April 30th meeting, which is tonight, we respectfully request that Mr. Sawicki, Director of Brisbane Community Development and Recology, to provide translations for our non- and limited English-speaking residents so that we can have a better understanding and to provide appropriate feedbacks for this big project. So this is the extent of what we do. But of course, Mr. Barrios mentioned, if it could be somewhere else away from residential area, then I think we're all happy. Thank you.
Daisy Wang? Wang, I'm sorry.
My name Daisy Wong. I live with 住喺荷里活more than 33年。
Okay, this is Daisy Wong. She's been a resident in Little Hollywood for 33 years.
每天咧，我都同我先生咧就去個海邊晨運散步。
Okay, every day she goes to 海邊喺邊度？
嗰個Candlestick Park 嗰度。
Candlestick Park to exercise.
Yeah. 我初搬入嚟嗰陣時咧，嗰個Little Hollywood 咧就真係好平靜、好美麗。
Okay, of course, initially she and her husband appreciate the fact that Little Hollywood was peaceful and very pleasant, quiet to live.
所以咧，我同4個細路仔都喺嗰度長大嘅，同埋我先生咧就大家都好 happy 嘅。
Okay, she and the 4 children are very happy to live there. Because of the ideal conditions in the beginning.
但最近呢幾年呢，我哋唔敢出去再晨運啦，因為咧空氣真係好差，好似以上啲人所講嘅海鷗啊成。
Right now, recently she and her husband have not really been going out because of the seagulls and the air quality.
同埋咧。我有啲好難過，就係我先生近呢幾年咧，漸漸個身體越嚟越差，就係空氣環境影響。
Okay, her husband's health has been increasingly going down because probably from all the air quality problems.
我同埋咧覺得我哋呢區住咗好多年，點解我哋通常咧收到啲通告咧冇中文嘅咧？
And she wants to know that, why is it a lot of these notifications do not have, translations for them? May I add one more thing? If this is supposed to be for San Francisco, I'm a former Immigrant Rights Commissioner. If it's in San Francisco, we have a right to ask for 4 languages, English, Spanish, Chinese, and Tagalog. So we do not want to know why, if it's in San Francisco, these provisions are not given to us.
所以咧，我好希望以後咧有咩通告咧都俾我哋中文，等我哋好多唐人都知道。因為我而家呢幾日咧就係花歐咗120幾人，個個大90% more 都冇Chinese no 啊。
Okay, she wants to have future, notifications to have include Chinese. Actually, this is a great lady. She went around door to door within the last 2 days, and she collected over 120 signatures. She figured that about 90% or more of them did not receive this important notification, even in English.
我知道咧呢個垃圾池咧就搬咗入嚟好耐。但係咧，我就可能佢就真係唔搬得開，但係我希望佢咧就唔好再擴建，同埋咧安全啲冚住佢。真係而家我哋每日都唔敢行出去海邊，好多雀仔擔到垃圾四圍掉，呢啲個個都講過。
Okay, so she mentioned the fact that she really doesn't want to do the daily exercise because of the birds are everywhere and it's a health hazard to many people.
Okay,
and she wants the facility, to move somewhere else. 你想佢搬去第處係嘛？
最好就係搬去到就搬去第二度啦，因為我知道即係好揦渣，即係呢我哋住咗30幾年啦已經。
Okay, so she prefers that the facility be somewhere else because of the health problems with the odor and the pest problems and so on. Yeah.
本來我好想叫我先生搬去第二度嘅嚟避開呢個空氣環境。
Okay, originally she wanted her husband and her to move somewhere else to avoid this horrible situation.
但係而家我同先生已經係retire 退休啦，已經就冇能力再去買屋。
Okay, since they're already in retirement, they don't have the ability to move or buy a house anywhere else to move out.
所以咧，每日都好似 day by day 好 sad 住喺度，住呢區。
They are very sad to live in the current situation.
所以我最近咧就好唔開心，一直都。
Okay, so recently she has been very depressed.
多謝，係咁多啦。
Next is Eva Leung, then followed by Letitia Zaragoza.
Good evening. How are you, everybody? My name is Eva Leung. I live Little Hollywood about over 25 years ago. I near the recycled garbage, only the second house. I was live here 25 years ago. It's quiet, good new air. About for right now, couple years ago, it's very terrible. My garden always have a mouse, 5 to 6. My daughter, she's go. It's the gonna, but she's scary. She never go in the garden. It's very bad. Also, my husband put the fence everywhere. They still coming from my garden. And also, in the morning, about 4 a.m., 3 p.m., the car is very, very noisy. I not can sleep. And too much garbage, and also a lot of zebra, fly. My house window is really messy and dirty. But I always clean. If the other day very hot, I am very sad. I not can open the window. It's very bad smell. I am the seafood cat. I smell the fish very bad. I am okay. I work here. But my house next to the garbage is very, very bad. Very, very bad. I am very sick. Very, very bad. I wish the garbage, not too much garbage pushed in San Francisco with Recology. Usually it's put out not near the person. It's very bad for the healthy. I am so sad. Also, I wish that I experience not 100%. I need Miss Chan translator. 我想嗌佢咧個政府咧要管治嗰啲garbage嗰啲垃圾嗰啲嘢，管制佢好啲。
There should be better control of all these problems that everybody's been talking about, so that because it's unbearable. So she wants me to explain that.
Yeah. Also, my house, the car too much seep or the pool is very stinking, and I am off. I like it relax for 1-2 days off, but I not have a good time for the house. I'm not comfortable in my house because noise, bad smell is very terrible. I wish the government help push out. Don't make too much garbage near my house and near anybody really sick. I feel really bad. I am really upset for the garbage. That's it. Thank you very much. Have a nice night. I wish the government help you.
I will translate since his time is up. So.
Hi, good evening. My name is Leticia Zaragoza. I've been in Little Hollywood for the past 16 years, so I'm pretty new compared to most of my neighbors here. But nonetheless, I share exactly the same feelings about the fact that we do have to live with these bad smells, the flies, and so forth. I completely support the improvement of Recology. I'm not opposing that. That's good for everyone. However, as I mentioned, there's land that belongs to them that's in the city and county of San Francisco, and I'm 4 houses down from the line. So if they are going to use their property, which they have the right to do so, maybe, I'm not sure what their idea is, but from what I heard, part of the current property is going to be used for the gases and the current use of it. But if they could use the San Francisco County line for the management offices, maybe the parking, things like that, that they're not, where they don't have to distribute or separate the garbage on the side of the residential side, that would be highly appreciated. And also the fact that there's a lot of houses being built in the Candlestick Bayview side, and that's going to be a huge impact. And there was a mention once that they might close down Betty Road, which that's actually, that would be it'd be a problem if that happens, because what's going to happen if that gets closed, they're trying to route the public transportation into our streets, which is already, we already have buses lines going through. They're going to take parking spaces away. They're going to make one-way streets. We have a lot of elder people who take their walks, kids on their bikes. So really, we have a nice, small community as it is. If we can keep it that way and get the support from Recology by not closing that street down, we'd be highly appreciated if we could work all together and maybe expedite their move, and at the same time, we all live a healthy, safety life. Okay.
Thank you. And next is Susan Sullivan Maynard.
Hi, I'm Susan Sullivan Maynard, and I think I'm the first person from Brisbane to speak today. Second? Okay. My error. I am a member of the Complete Streets Traffic Advisory Committee for the City of Brisbane, and I've also been attending the Geneva-Harney Bus Rapid Transit Muni planning meetings, but I'm speaking tonight from personal opinions, not as a representative of those two organizations and meetings. And I'd like to thank Little Hollywood for turning out, because in some ways the village of Brisbane is very much like Little Hollywood. We're a nice small community, and we in Brisbane want to keep it just in similar ways to the way you feel about your neighborhood. The issues here are really huge, and the decisions that are being made will affect us for probably a good 100 years. I won't live to see it, but maybe your grandchildren will. So these are significant. I'd like to focus just on the transportation issue, and rather than traffic, focus instead on transportation issues. There are plannings in City of San Francisco for Muni and Rapid Transit in the region. When you cross over into the Brisbane line, City of Brisbane does not have effective public transportation. However, Recology is right across the street from Caltrain, also a traffic organization, a transit organization that's going through changes and making plans to change. And the only thing that was mentioned in your presentation was Recology was looking at parking spaces and building parking facilities. Could we also focus on public transportation? The function of Recology requires trucks and vehicles, I understand that, but one-on-one traffic is already impacted. We have lots of development going on in the general region of the San Francisco-Brisbane border, with more plans to be made about the Brisbane Baylands. Traffic is going to become a major issue, and we need to get away from single occupant vehicles and plan something better. Thank you.
Andrew Mall.
Hi, my name is Andrew Mall, and I am a resident of Little Hollywood, and I've been so for 16 years. I wanted to, first off, confer with all my neighbors and just acknowledge all of the obvious problems when you live right next to a landfill. I moved there in 1999, and in the height of the first .com wave, and there was 1% occupancy in the city. So I felt really fortunate to get the house that we have. I didn't think that we'd be living there as long as we have. But, you know, through that time period, I've watched the neighborhood change quite a bit, and it's gotten better. The neighborhood's actually improved quite a bit. But also, you know, outer regions of San Francisco are gentrifying as well. And I think that has a lot to do, you know, that impacts Little Hollywood currently as the outer regions gentrify. There's a lot of plans going forward right now to kind of really change the neighborhood as it is. It's a great neighborhood, lots of great neighbors. Like I said, when I first moved there, I didn't think that I would be there as long as I have. The interesting thing about living in San Francisco is, or especially where we are, is we're kind of captive in a sense. Now I'm, you know, I make a decent income, but I, you know, in the environment that we live in today, would be considered middle class. That doesn't really allow me at the very moment to move freely around the city, since we've had a very good rent for a long period of time. And also, you know, since things have been changing, you know, and you move in at a certain time period, you understand what's around you when you move in. So, you know, I have to say that it's gotten worse through Recology. It's gotten a lot worse over the last couple of years. And I think that might have to do with the impact of the city and the growth of the city. And I'm not here to bash Recology. I think they're a great company. I think they do a world-class job with their recycling. And I've often joked with people, not only do I pay a bill every month, but they have me sorting their garbage, and then they make an incredible profit off of that as well. And I'm very happy for them to do so. So living next to this, on the edge of this company, some of the things that our neighbors, I totally agree with them. You know, there are days where it's like a Hitchcock film, you know, with birds overhead. And then there's other times, you know, 7 out of 10 days, you have a nice airflow. Since it's a valley, the air flows through and you don't smell the acrid stench of waste. But there are days when there is no wind and it's unbearable. And so, like I said, as a hostage in different ways, you know, not being able to move around the city laterally because of your income, you're a hostage in your own home as well. You have to shut your doors and your windows and bear the stench as it is. So, you know, there's a lot of things. And I'm also a father now. I'm raising 2 daughters in that neighborhood who both have asthma. So, and I don't know if this is, you know, an environmental thing due to our area. You know, that would be a very hard thing to find out. So I'm very concerned at this stage. What I would love to see, and the noise in the middle of the night, that's accurate, 100%. They're dropping dumpsters and vacuuming the yards and doing all kinds of stuff. And there's a lot of noise. There is, but the stench is at times overbearing. And those 3 days out of 7 that you get it, it's not fantastic. So it'd be very nice with all this open space somewhere in the middle, in between Little Hollywood and Brisbane. If this portion, and as one of our neighbors had mentioned, moving forward, it's a fantastic company, a great facility, but there's what's going to happen in San Francisco. It's not going to get smaller. The impact of more and more people, the influx, that just means more, for the waste facility itself. So therefore, it's not going to get smaller. It's just going to get bigger. If this facility moved away from the neighborhood, even if it moved 500 feet or 1,000 feet away, it would have an impact. And like I said, 7 out of 10 days you don't have it, but those 3 days that you do, it's terrible. I think there's a lot of open space. I think that open space could be developed. I think moving forward, we could have a world-class waste facility moving into the future, an expansive facility to meet future needs, one that the entire city could be proud of. They can have me sorting a 4th can and making even more money, and I don't even know how they would do that, but I'd be happy to do that in that case. And there's a lot of other things. I mentioned, there's pests, but also one of the impacts of having the trucks on local roads, not only do you deal with them on a daily basis, but, it's really wear and tear. I mean, you go through tires. I mean, I puncture tires on a constant basis, and that has to do with the debris that's dropped. So I mean, that's a small issue in contrast to what we're really talking about. We're talking about our health as residents. As I hear some of my neighbors, they've been here for 30 years. Like I said, when you move into a neighborhood like this, you might not plan on being in a certain place for a long period of time, but if you end up there in a long period of time and you have environmental issues that surround you, what are the impacts of those? I mean, I don't want to be subject to air pollution or water pollution, and either for my family or for my personal health, moving forward, and, those are the unknowns. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Carmen Leon?
Hi there. My name is Carmen Leon, and I'm an attorney in San Francisco. I'm here with my family tonight. We live in Little Hollywood. And I really hope that this environmental impact report will be detailed and thorough and will really take into account all of the different aspects of this project on our communities. I'm not being familiar with all of the factors that go into each of these categories. I hope that not only the intangibles that have been mentioned by my fellow residents are taken into account, such as noise and pollution and the air quality, but also the tangible, as just mentioned. I mean, there's serious wear and tear on our roads, and in addition to that, I mean, we all have suffered with the problem of constant tire popping or tire wear and tear because of the trucks. So on a good day, we're looking at the air quality problems, the pollution, but on the other days, we're looking at spillage from the trucks. We're looking, and again, not just the garbage, but also the nails and that kind of thing. So I hope that all of that will be taken into account in the report so that we can make an appropriate decision. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Jonathan Scharfman.
My name is Jonathan Scharfman. I'm with Universal Paragon Corporation. We are the landowners of the adjacent properties in Brisbane, known as the Brisbane Baylands. We're also investing in the redevelopment of the former Schlage Lock site in San Francisco adjacent. We will be submitting extensive written comments by the May 13th deadline, but there's just two questions that we'd like to pose this evening. And one is that the greenhouse gas emissions impact of parking, the number of trucks that are anticipated adjacent to the Bayshore Caltrain station be taken into account as it relates to the planned 15,000 plus jobs that Brisbane has identified would be on the future of the Brisbane Baylands. And second, we just want to make sure that it's noted in the record that phase 2 of this project is planned on private land that's owned neither by Recology or by the City of Brisbane, but by our company. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other cards? Okay, let's go back to the next slide. Okay, so from this meeting, what will happen now following the notice of preparation is any other written comments that you would have, if you want to turn in either the form tonight, but get comments to the city by May 13th. And then what will happen is the city will review all of the comments that were heard tonight, along with any other written comments, move forward with the preparation of the environmental impact report. When that becomes available, there will be public notice that that is available. There will then be a public review period that the studies you have asked for, the alternatives you have asked the city to look at, will be part of that document. You can then write comments back. Yes, you did a good job analyzing. No, you need to do these things in addition. And then the city will prepare written responses to every comment that was received on that draft EIR. When those written responses are done, there will be a document called a final EIR. Then and only then will the city be able to look at, should we approve, should we modify, and some of the things you asked about tonight, the city actually taking an action on the project. Only after the city of Brisbane takes action would then the city, depending on what action the city of Brisbane takes in relation to the environmental impact report, the project, then there would be additional review going on by the city and county of San Francisco. So any of you who make sure that you sign that sign-in sheet will make sure that additional notices as meetings come out and information is available. We'll get notices out to everybody who signed the sign-in sheet tonight. And thank you for coming. This is the beginning of the process. There's still a long way to go. So thank you.